Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I interview founders, entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, amazing people all around the world of crypto and blockchain. And today I have another amazing guest. And I'm looking forward to this interview because I think it's really good for a lot of people. So I have Dave Borsh, who is the founder of Giga-Mint. Dave, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Jamil. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So let's kick things off and ask you first, what is your background and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
Yeah, sure. I think the logical part is a little bit debatable, but I've been in IT for a little over 25 years. I've supported organizations in finance, retail, automotive. Primarily, my focus has been on operations, infrastructure, core infrastructure, network storage, database, data center. I think my takeaway and what I bring into Giga-Mint really over all those experiences is just empathy for end user experience. We have everyday people who are not necessarily technically savvy, using amazing technology to do things, and sometimes it's a frustrating experience. So, at Giga-Mint, I'm trying to simplify the process of creating an NFT so that everyday people can build their collection.
Very cool. Right. And so that's basically so why do you want to do that and what's your vision for Giga-Mint and why do you want everyday people? Why would you like everyday people to create NFTs?
Yeah, so at its core, Giga-Mint is just about turning digital moments into something that you can truly own. My vision is just to flatten the tech curve and provide users with a little more user-friendly process in creating an NFT. And I think I'm going to give you the origin story here. I think it'll make a lot of sense, and then we can move on from there. So last year, out of pure technical curiosity, I wanted to learn more about blockchain and found myself looking into NFTs as well. And for me, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to create one. I think it'll be a great learning experience for me. How do I create an NFT? Well, you got to put yourself in the shoes of someone who's never done it before. Internet searches and Googling took me down some rabbit holes. Eventually, I found my way to NFT marketplaces. And while I'm sure that there are a lot of help resources on those sites, they're not always obvious or useful. So, for me, first thing I needed to do was figure, what blockchain am I going to create or mint on? Figured that out. Second, I needed to get a wallet, and there were many to choose from, and there was really no one telling me do this. So pick a wallet, figure out how to create it, how to log into it, and that was another step in the process. Some of these sites, you need to connect your wallet before the ability to even create an NFT lights up on the screen. That was something else that I found challenging. So I've got the blockchain, I've got the wallet, so I start the process. And I'm being asked questions about collections and licensing and royalties, in addition to title description. And I really didn't know where to go with some of these, but I got to that end point where I got to click that mint button, and I'm presented with an error because I never funded the wallet. So again, thinking back to someone who's brand new here, now I've never done this before. I've got to provide personal financial information to attach a credit card or to link to a bank account. I don't maybe feel comfortable with that, but you fight through it. Well, what cryptocurrency do I need to use? And what's the conversion rate? So, more challenges in this process, again, for a first-time user. You get through that, you get to the end, you click that button, and some sites, when you mint it, it doesn't even go to you. It's there on the site because NFT marketplaces, I understand this, they're about resale, trading, speculation, things like that. So Giga-Mint was born out of that frustration. I said to myself, I think I can do something better. So the vision for Giga-Mint was to flatten that tech curve again and make it simpler. So how are we different? I'll just quickly explain. Number one, I only mint on one blockchain, Solana. So my customer doesn't need to worry about that. It's going to be on Solana. if they want to read up about it, they can do that. Number two, I recommend a wallet, and I provide instructional videos on how to create the wallet and how to find your wallet address, which if you've never done it before, might be a little bit of a struggle. I only ask for title description. You upload your photo, give me your wallet address, and that's it. Nothing about royalties. There's no smart contracts here. So, one less thing to worry about. And then you add it to your cart like any other e-commerce experience. And the payment really is a big one as well. I use traditional payment methods. It's flat rate, and it is in US dollars. It's the same experience you would find on any e-commerce site. Don't have to worry about cryptocurrency. Don't worry about funding a wallet. You don't need to worry about connecting your wallet. So once you check out, once you mint your NFT, you check out your cart, and you're done, I'm going to deliver that NFT to your wallet within 48 hours. And many times it's much sooner, but that's kind of where I settled on that. So it's just a different experience. I think it's a softer landing zone for people who are trying to learn more about NFTs and enter that whole ecosystem.
That makes sense. That sounds like you created your company with the user in mind, and a lot of
Yes.
yeah, and a lot of I've interviewed a lot of founders and artists over the years who, when the early days of NFTs, they were just so happy they're making money for the very first time in their lives. It was all artist centered. It wasn't end user centered. But I kind of think that your approach is a little better than maybe Facebook, because once you put your pictures on Facebook, Facebook owns it. You're saying once you create your pictures, you're able to own it, and monetize it.
Yes, and I want to speak to that last point because as an artist, if you're saying I've got something unique here and I want to try to monetize it, again, I think that my site is a simple way to get that into NFT form. But I am not an NFT marketplace. I go out of my way to put that in all of my information. When you mint your NFT with me, it's not going to ever be sold on my site. And that's the big paradigm shift that I don't think that my site exists out there. I am promoting personal use NFTs. I'm saying I'm going to keep this. It's not for resale. It's not for speculation. I'm not trying to get rich quick. I've got this special memory, most likely a photo, that I absolutely love. What a moment that, and I'm going to save it in a different way. I'm not going to put it into, I'm not going to have now 15,000 items in my Google Photos and add one more. I'm going to mint this. It's going to be in my wallet. It's going to be on a blockchain. It's verifiable. It's a different ownership than putting it with a company or an iCloud or Google Photos.
Got it. So let me ask you the third question. So how do NFTs offer a new form? I know you have this database background, so do I, but it's a new form of photo storage, capabilities.
Yes.
And why should people want to mint their memories?
Yeah, I think when you strip down, and I'm not, saying that I'm a blockchain subject matter expert, but I think when you are talking to someone about it, it's essentially another way to store digital items. It's really different. We're talking about this Web 2 idea where it's all username and password driven, to taking that baby step into Web 3 where that wallet is the key, and it's going to be your key into the blockchain and a number of technologies to go with it. In the NFT space, yeah, I think it's just it's a different type of ownership that you have. And I think for why do you want to mint your memories? I think it just comes down to, again, we've gotten into this idea that, well, there's two things. We got into this idea that, Google Photos and iCloud to me, I'm an offender as well. It's just a digital junk drawer. You're taking all these photos, they get stored up there. They're great to look through at times, but you're just adding to the collection. Where I think if people start to, think about moving into this blockchain space, taking one special memory a month or a quarter and minting it, building their own collection, understanding more about it. I I think it's just a different experience. And why do they want to do it? I'm trying to, it's on the site as well. Um, these NFTs can be for achievements, they can be for highlights, they can be for special moments. I mean, they can go beyond just photos with sound. I think about the personalization of the NFT again. It's for personal use. Taking a recipe that's been passed down and digitizing it. Um, building, just again building your collection. You look back and you do a couple here and there. You've got this legacy you're starting to build. I envision one day where beyond the art, which is going to have a value. Um, I see a time where, unfortunately, someone's will might be, and with my NFT, if my NFT collection or my wallet, I'm going to pass this on to X. So, um, it's just a different way to, like you talked about, store that memory.
You said will. I'm hopefully my will won't come into effect for
Yeah.
a long time. But that makes me think there are some like unique uses of NFTs that people don't really know about, right? What are some of those different things like Will's like that we don't know about that they're uses for NFTs that people should know about?
Yeah. I'm thinking about, and again, I know there's a cost factor that's a little bit different here, but you know, NFTs for fundraising, and I think we're going to talk about that a little bit beyond just capturing moments. Um, I think when you add utility to the NFT, the idea that there's some type of something attached to it, some type of value, it could be used for royalty reward programs. It can be used for events, invitations. Uh, I mean, think about that. Someone sends out, they create, a barcode, an NFT, and they're sent to you in that form if it's a special event, special moment. I mean, with the NFT, you're that's saved. I mean, it's not like you get a physical ticket and it's gone. You've got that. You're building this timeline. You're building this collection. You're going back and building these memories in just a special way. So, yeah, beyond special moments, there's some other things you can do with NFTs as well. And I have that on my site for people to take a look at. Maybe they'll get inspired by that.
Well, you said fundraising, and you said we should talk about that. Um, I mean, there's popular sites right now like GoFundMe, other platforms people use for fundraising, but why should people use NFTs for fundraising? What's the benefit, and why is it maybe a better approach than the GoFundMe's of the world?
Um, Yeah, I think it really just comes down to the context. I'm not going to say it's better. I think it's just more lasting beyond the end of the moment. With the GoFundMe page, you're going to have this site. It's going to reach its goal or not. It's going to be taken down. But with an NFT fundraiser, depending on how it's done, I'm currently working with a couple of college club teams who need funding. They've got a logo, and they're going to, take that and they're going to do a fundraiser for their own program. When you're left with it, when it's all said and done, you're part of that support group. You've got that memory, you've got that NFT of your wallet to say, I helped, I supported it. And then these teams or organizations, it's going to vary so much. I mean, it's a wide open, whatever they want to do. But again, adding utility to it. You think about I'll just say a youth soccer club. Maybe those holders get to participate in a practice. Maybe they get first in line at a team banquet. Things like that. And it, beyond that, with like a GoFundMe site or anything, where maybe you're just left with you've made your donation, you're done. No, again, your personal collection is being built. You're going to be able to go through that and know that you were a supporter of that. So I think that's just a little more special and long lasting.
You mentioned the sports clubs. It's interesting because I have a son who's a sophomore, and he does crew, right? But there are other kids in the area who are athletes, and I'm thinking like maybe an NFT could help like in the college recruiting process because they have an NFT to send over to it's not something that just disappears. is something that could be used. Like how could sporting clubs and like have that real benefit of like you know utility as well.
Yeah, and I've thought of that as well. And in my effort to stay more on the personal, emotional side and not get into the future, future value, but you go back now because this is obviously a different time. Think about what who's a superstar right now in sports. Imagine if LeBron would have had an NFT at him at 8 years old. What would that be worth today? So you go to these team picture days and you sign up for your pictures. Grab one of those. Take a great moment. Take a nice at bat stance. Turn that into an NFT. Down the line, if that turns out to be something that that person is really special at, could that fund something later on, or what value could that be worth? But the other side of it is something that you brought up there with the fundraising. So I've got some categories on my site where I do offer some NFTs, and I've got a community and cause. And I think for the NFT fundraising, I think one of the benefits is this how fast you can spin it up, and it's zero cost to these clubs. For example, you give me your logo, and I put it up there, and you say, I'm going to have 50 of these at an affordable price at $20. I could have that up and running the next day, and it costs them nothing. They advertise it on their own social media site. They sell those. I take the funds. I transfer it to them. So it's year round. It can be spun up fast. It's zero cost. And again, the holders of that, depending on what the club chooses to do with it, maybe they're put into a raffle for an item. Maybe there's a local establishment it says they work with and say, hey, show me your NFT and I'm going to give you, 10% off this night on, whatever it is. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless, but I think it just goes to the fact that you've got that receipt of your support. I mean, these are real human experiences, and it's not come and gone. It's not a t-shirt that you wash one time or you go, it's done with. You're building your collection. You look back on that, you've got that there. So I think that's special.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So let's look at it not from the end user, like end user, customer, layman person. Let's look at it from the lens of a business, an entrepreneur or somebody who wants to start a business. You know, um, how could they benefit from your like who don't know too much about blockchain, but they hear about NFTs? How could they really benefit from using your platform? How would they be able to start from scratch, use your platform, and then build their business?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on how they, want to put that utility in place. I've also had conversations about some, smaller, uh, smaller shops that want to see about using it as their loyalty program. So, and again, I think it's just the more of the human experience. It's not necessarily an app. You've got a one of a kind, depending on the scarcity and uniqueness of these. And I'm trying to stay true to that. That's the one thing. Obviously, when you think about that, I don't want to say, if you mint 1,000 of these or there's an endless supply of them, they're going to lose that value. But again, for me, it's not about that resale or speculation. It's about understanding what it is in the moment. So it's hard for me to say because it really depends on how they want to use it. But loyalty programs, it could be again startup fundraising, and you're owning a piece of that journey for them. You're getting them off to a start there. So I think those are like the big two that come to mind for me.
Got it. In addition to the technical barriers, there's always the mental barriers, right? The emotional mental barriers and perceived barriers of owning and minting NFTs. Like how can we get past the because it used to be like the barrier used to be, oh, this NFT is just a JPEG. Well, it's a lot more than that. So how
Yes.
do we get over those perceptions and those mental perceived barriers?
Well, I mean, I know how we do it, but it's ultimately how long it's going to take to get done is going to be difficult. I think it starts with beyond sites like mine that make it simple, and I go out of my way to provide robust FAQs and a chatbot and articles that are really more educational than they are sales pitches. I want people to understand about blockchain, what's happening in that moment, what's happening with the NFT, how's it created, what's the safety of my wallet, how does this apply to teenagers and children, what safety mechanisms are in place. So I'm trying to educate at the same time. I think and I think you'll agree with this. I mean, when you Google NFT marketplaces, there's kind of a negative connotation. They talk about how, they're dying or the NFT market is dead. That's not necessarily true. The idea of get rich quick could be. You've had companies that have tried to get into this NFT space, and what did they do? They offered these, they'd offer these items out to the public. Public thought I was going to get it and it was going to be worth a lot. And then they pulled back or they dumped the program 2 years later and they're worthless. So I'm really trying to again focus more on the personal use side of it, as more as keepers. So I think to answer your question, we've got to talk about that. Not every NFT is about resale and speculation. I think that's the key. I think it's going to be more personal use, and again, getting into the details about it's not just a JPEG, but pretty much any type of photo. You can do audio, you can do video. I mean, you're capturing a special memory, you're capturing a moment just in a different way.
Yeah. I went on a trip in Asia, backpacked across Asia back in 2004. I have no idea where those pictures are, right? But I would love to be able to access them, and then I'll have to worry about like where they are, although where they're there digitally. I think thinking of that would be good. Beyond the use of speculation, though, like I would never try to sell that. You know,
Right.
I don't want to sell that. And some things like if there's a memory out there and a friend of mine like took it when I was like drunk 30 years ago, I definitely don't want that out there, right?
Yeah.
So how can we protect our privacy and at the same time help promote the NFTs?
Oh, well, that's a that's a tough question. Obviously, once it's digitized and you chose to put it out on a platform, uh, it's as safe as your password, to that site or any type of other data breach. I'm Again, this is new to me as well. I'm reading up and understanding around the architecture and the security of blockchain versus traditional storage platforms. I think it offers a lot more from the decentralization um, and the fact that it's true ownership. One of the things I share with the customers, I highlight this to them is when you go and get a wallet, it asks you nothing about yourself. It does not want your name. It doesn't ask you where you live. It just says, take this information. Here's the keys. Go do what you will with it. So, and I highlight to them that there's no, from a security standpoint, from a privacy standpoint, there's nothing with that wallet when you're looking at it in Explorer form that says, I belong to X. Now, I know that those NFTs are available because it's a public blockchain and someone could take the time to just randomly go. But that'd be a tough go of it. But yeah, I think there's a lot more enhanced security and the same things apply whether it's traditional storage or blockchain. Be careful what you put out there.
Yeah. Yeah, so you said sticking with the speculate, back in 2022, things are booming. Like Board Ape Yacht Clubs, apes were like $1 million a piece.
Yes.
Cypher, the punks were like that too. And we've seen that a lot of it was not sustainable. So, what could be the next sustainable pathway in the evolution of NFTs? I also don't believe they're dead, but what could be a sustainable way to make sure they're not dead?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to, when I think about sustainability to me, it's like environmentally and emotionally, and I chose Solana, did a little bit of research, the speed and the gas fees and the, how they're trying to evolve to be more efficient. And I think that's going to be one area. But second, really, it's just the emotional sustainability. Create NFTs that have meaning, moving from hype and trading to permanence and purpose. So I think the next wave of NFTs are going to be tied to real human experiences, family, community, memory, not just speculation.
Yeah. And I guess that goes back to why, what's the importance to people for, wanting to save their memories,
Yeah, it's a tough discussion because, blockchain is complex. And then you have somebody again who's not technical, who've never heard of an NFT, or they know what it is. Tell me about it, and you're throwing out a word like fungible. I mean, the terminology, the jargon is tough. But again, my site is educational, trying to answer all the questions that I can, trying to, make it, you go into an NFT marketplace for the first time, it's like walking onto a casino floor. It's just bing, 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 as lights. There's just so many things to go through. And, those who go there, they know what they're doing. And that's great. I mean, I think the idea of provenance and, again, protecting the creator, the digital creator, and having it known that this is mine, it's fantastic. But it's just not every NFT going forward is going to be about resale. I mean, that's it. That's the message. People over time, I believe this, are going to want to create NFTs that they keep for themselves. And if the experience in creating one is not simple, it's going to drive them away. They're going to have a horrible first time experience, and that they'll be done with that because it's so much easier to auto save to Google Photos. So I'm trying to simplify the process. I'm trying to make it easy, trying to educate all at the same time.
So my question there then will be I can see that is very good, is security. Google offers good security. How can we ensure, that using your platform, how can you ensure the users that, yes, you mint them and they're secure and and you can access them and they're not going to get hacked.
Yes, and not that we've seen a lot of this, but in the past few months we've seen major global outages in AWS, in Microsoft Azure, in Cloudflare that have caused significant impact. So I'm not trying to use a scare tactic, but Google Photos is, I mean, it's a company, but they essentially own that item. They could shut down the next day. They could say, we're going to remove this, and you're going to need to take these someplace elsewhere. So I don't see that in the blockchain space. And truth be told, I understand that it's free to go to Google Photos unless you reach your storage limit. It's free, but it's going to cost you a couple dollars to put it on a blockchain. You have to use that rental, that storage, that space. So end users are going to have to get past that as well. But again, as I go to NFT marketplaces and I peruse what's out there, there's affordable pieces if you're an art collector, but I try to make things affordable. For me, and every day I mint something, the price is different. So it's a tough game on my back end. I'm still charging the same rate, but what it costs me is just a roller coaster. But again, it just goes to simplifying the process, keeping things consistent for the end user, making an enjoyable process.
Got it. It all sounds good to me. I got to check it out because I want to thank you very much for your time today. I have one last question.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, this is part of my last question. It's a personal anecdote too. My father passed away in 2017. He was a very good cook. I have recipes of his that are on old paper, and by the day, that paper keeps getting older and older, and pretty soon I'm not going to be able to read it.
Yes.
I want to capture those recipes on an NFT. I want to do it on your marketplace, on your platform. How can I do that? How can anybody do that? How can people find out more information about you and being able to do that?
Yeah, so I've actually got an article out there on how to, mainly for parents, on how to digitize. Uh, I'm focused more on children's works. How they bring home. Not everybody's got a printer. Not everybody's got a scanner. So you have to think about different ways to digitize it. So, taking a picture of it with clarity in a certain way, or if you're fortunate enough to get it, or go have it scanned someplace. But yeah, those are the things that you're going to want to pass down one day. And while you can take that piece of paper and put it in, you can laminate or whatever you want to do with it. I think the idea of saving as an NFT is just, a fantastic idea. And you've got this legacy that you can, you feel confident that it's going to be safe for a long time. And however you want to, you can pass that down. So I
And
do have
and
information on the site about that. Yeah.
and again, what is it? What is the site? How can people go to it?
Oh, so it's gigament.com with a hyphen, so GIGA-mint.com.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, thank you.